Hello guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today I have something very special for you. Now it's not BB-8, my Lego BB-8, which is fantastic and I adore. I'm just using him to focus the camera. What I have for you today is a computer from 10 years ago. A computer that I loved, that I used, and then for some reason I forgot about it. It ended up in a drawer, and what we're talking about today is the Asus EEE PC. That's BB-8, and I'm your uncle. Asus EEE PC. It was revolutionary at the time. It was announced in 2007 and then released in 2008. I bought it at the end of 2008 or at the beginning of 2009 as a computer for a friend who needed something very simple, very easy to work with, nothing too fancy, just a computer to read the paper, visit some websites. So when I read about Asus releasing a PC that was essentially meant for that, to be simple, easy to carry, and not too expensive, I was very intrigued. I went to a store and the clerk, he told me that this was absolutely revolutionary because this was the smallest notebook. At the time, notebooks were really large and really heavy. This was small, easy to carry, and it looked good, which is something that nowadays we give a lot of meaning to. I wasn't interested in something that looked good, but the specs were quite okay for the time. And at the time, it wasn't meant to completely replace your notebook or your home computer. In my opinion, Asus wanted to create something that people could use wherever they were, at work, at school, keep the costs down. So in this case, this model is one of the first models, the 701 4G, which is equipped with a Celeron CPU, 512 megabytes of memory, and an SSD, a drive, which is, I guess, 4 gigabytes. On one side you have Ethernet ports, one USB mic and headphones. On the other, an SD card reader, another 2 USB ports, and the monitor output to connect an external monitor to it. The computer itself is really compact. So the idea of having a whole computer, but in a very small package, was appealing, and people loved it. I loved it. My friend, as I told you, wanted something super easy to use, and I went for this one. I said, okay, let's buy it. This version in particular was running Xandros, which is a GNU/Linux distribution. Very simplified distribution, even too simplified in my opinion. But my friend liked it. When I asked the store clerk about it, he said, well, it's kind of a Windows system. He didn't know anything about it, but I did because I was into free software and GNU/Linux. I've been using them since 2000, and even today I use mostly Debian or Debian-based distributions on my computers. So even if the operating system was not my favorite, it worked well. It worked well for my friend. He could use it to check his emails, read some papers, go to websites, even use it on YouTube at the time. It was still possible. The full keyboard is very small, yet it can be used with not too many problems. I have large hands. If you've watched my old videos, you know that because I say that all the time. If you haven't watched my old videos, please do. I will wait for you here. And I won't say anything until you come back. I swear. Okay, I lied. At the side of the screen, the 2 speakers, which worked okay, and a webcam. Now, this is the 701 version. There was a version prior to this one, which was even cheaper than this one. And then they went to 900 series, 1000 series, and they gave people the option to use Windows XP, which is something that I never tried on this computer. My friend used it. It became mine after a year because he went on for a larger notebook. But I was fascinated with this computer, and I kept using it less and less until it ended up in a drawer, as I told you. Now it's been 10 years, so 2009, 2019. When I decided to stop using this and retire it, I completely deleted the operating system, Xandros. Now it's completely empty, but it's still working. Let's turn it on. Please keep in mind that this little guy is 10 years old, so this is going to take a while. We will get into the setup here. Here it is. So now what to do with it? Well, I have this idea that if a computer is still working and when you bought it was something really important for you, you paid good money for it, and it was what you were looking for at the time, it still deserves some attention. I don't know exactly what to do with it because essentially it's too slow for me to use it as I use my other computers to edit videos or work on my photography projects. But what I want to try today is at least see if it's still usable with a modern GNU/Linux distribution. And I've chosen Lubuntu, which is a version of the Ubuntu operating system, which is a Debian-based distribution. Why Lubuntu? Lubuntu because it's the lightest they offer. And I'm gonna try it right now. I'll just move the camera so you can see it closer. BB8, give me a hand. And now we're ready to try to install Lubuntu GNU Linux. I chose the 32-bit version from last year. I put an image of it in this pen drive, and now we're ready to see if it installs on this little Asus 10-year-old PC. Let's select the right boot device. Here it is. Well, it's working. It's going to take a while. I'm sure it's going to take a while, so I won't, English language, so I won't bother you with the whole process. Let's install Lubuntu. That seems it's going to take a little more than a while, but we persevere. And our friend Darth Vader joined us, so now we have even more weird things on the screen. Yes, it took a long while. It took me 60 minutes. It was not super easy to do. I chose the minimal installation, so less packages to be installed. But again, 1 hour. Now it's finally on. Is it working? Yes, but let's try it out. Mr. Vader, I'm sorry. While it turns on, let me tell you one thing. I specifically chose a distribution that wasn't optimized for this hardware, just to see if it was possible to install it. And it does work, but of course when the operating system is optimized for that specific model, that specific hardware, it performs way better. It is responsive in a way, so as a typewriter, as a portable typewriter, absolutely no problem. But when you start using Firefox, for example, which is very, very heavy, it needs lots of resources. This computer doesn't have that kind of resources, so essentially you're left there waiting for it to come up. It's not a surprise to me. I was expecting this kind of behavior, of course. It's a modern distribution on an old computer. Anyway, it turns on, it works. Now I am just showing you, yes, as you can see, you can type whatever you want. So as a portable typewriter, and I'm not joking when I say this, it is the coolest looking portable typewriter. But for a notebook, if you want it to run the way you expect it to, you will need a lighter distribution. I will leave you some links in the description. Now, you may ask why try to use a computer so old? Well, for the same reason that I have a completely working Commodore 64 setup, which is amazing. And of course I could use a simple emulator and have all the games ready to be played, but it's simply a geek thing. So I just like it. I like the fact that this is working, this is alive, even if I won't use it. And if you feel like you want to play with a notebook like this one, they are available on eBay and many other places at a very, very low price. So you can buy one, even if it's broken, just to use, say, a few parts to repair another one, and maybe increase the memory, increase the SSD, the disk, and make it a little bit more up to date and usable. So Asus EEE PC, the 701 version came out 10 years ago, still going strong, but it needs some upgrades. Let me know if you have it, what kind of distribution you're running on it, and let me know what you think of the video, of course. I'll leave you some links in the description. Thank you for watching. I'm your uncle.